Welcome, Thack from Thack Ironworks. Welcome to video 3 in this series on how to make a Gladiator helmet for fun and profit, but no profit. Okay, so in the first video we took a disc of bronze, which then I hot dished to create the bowl of the helmet. Made it into this shape. In the second video I made this cute little lion head here to give it a little panache. So now what we're going to do is continue on and add the extra pieces to this helmet. So I've got some templates made. Let's refer back to our original here. Remember, I made this back when I was just a child many years ago, and it's ginormous. But yeah, I'm using it as my guide for the relative size or shape, not size. The size is wrong. But I've decided to deviate from it. I decided that this crest here was looking a little bit boxy, a little bit square. It's kind of cool for what it is, but I thought I looked at some other types of this helmet, and there was some more dramatic looking crests. So I came up with this, which I think is quite daring and dashing. So we've got that, and then I've also made up the other pieces here, you can see, which will form the helmet as such. So after I develop the templates, I transfer them to the silicon bronze sheet. It's about an 18 gauge or equivalent, and trace them out, cut them out. The crest is a little bit of a complex shape, in that it's got to be assembled together. So what I'm doing is making tabs that are going to interlock, fold over, and then we'll be able to do our strip there. So let's talk a little bit about the crest and how it's going to be mounted. I decided, I've got this little crest ridge starter here. I needed a positive anchoring system to be able to mount the crest too. This has got a lot of leverage on it, so it needed to be something quite secure. So I ended up biting the bullet and just going for a heavy chunk of steel, 5/8 square, and I just curved a piece of steel that fits onto the profile there. Then I drilled and tapped some holes. This is a 5/16 thread on there, and then the whole thing can get bolted onto the crest. So I've got my bar of steel here. This will provide an anchoring point through which I will rivet the crest pieces to, so both pieces, and then rivet straight through. So once I establish what my holes are on this, I think what I'm going to do is grind away a lot of the excess here. I've got quite a bit of weight that I just threw on this helmet that's already going to be fairly heavy, and but I just couldn't think of another positive anchoring system that would work as well as this. So this helmet might end up a little heavy, but I'm hoping that I can actually carve away a lot of extraneous material here once I figure out what I don't need, and then go from there. But at this point, let's get into notching out the crest. All right, so here's my strategy. I'm going to notch this out. So you're going to have two sides, and they're going to come together. So I've got my X's and O's here. So O's on one side, X's on the other, and it'll come together like a zipper that I will have these notches folding in. And then there will be a piece of 2-inch wide that's going to rivet the whole thing together. So what I have to do now with my tiny little brain is to make sure that I cut them out opposite, realizing I have a right and a left, but that doesn't really even seem to matter. So now what I've done is I've got this laid out. So these are O's. The O's are existing on the other one, so they need to disappear on this one, right? I hope I'm right. Let's see what happens. All right, so I've done my notching here, and lo and behold, I actually did it right. This is like a first. This could actually work out. So these are going to require some trimming as I actually get to that stage. Before I start folding this over and assembling this, it's almost like origami, kind of an interesting two-dimensional structure turning into a three-dimensional structure. Speaking of which, I thought the original helmet has just a plain surface here, and I thought I would be disciplined and just keep it austere, simple. But I'm looking at it and it's like, I can't fucking do it, man. I need to add a little bit of flair to this. So, started playing with some radiating lines, and I think this will add a little bit of dynamic energy to the thing. So, what I'm going to do is put these lines in, then create these little ridges here coming down. So, I'm just trying to lay that out. I just marked out where my tap holes are here. I need to also figure out where my rivet holes are, and I want to do the whole thing in a nice, organized, systematic way. So bear with me. I'm just going to do a little bit of doodling to try to figure out my layout, and then we can start doing a little bit of fluting in this. All right, so there I have done 2 passes. I might have to do another one just to sharpen things up, but you can see by way of comparison that is much more visually interesting. I'm quite happy that I did that. Didn't take very long. Got a nice little spiral happening there. So I'll continue on with this, and you guys will catch up with me in a few hours and see where I'm at. Yep. What I've got now is my 2 crest pieces here. And watch this. Prepare to be amazed. The zipper. So, after much canoodling and refiguring and re-notching, I was able to get the pieces sitting together here pretty much how I would like it to be. You can see I've decided, rather than having just a straight rectangular shape, I want the thing flaring. So it starts out quite narrow at the back, flares out quite wide up here at the curlicue, and then tapers back in again. Very dynamic and very flamboyant, much like myself. You know, I'm a very flamboyant fellow. That's what I'm into. So let's put this together and see what it actually bolts together and looks like. All right, so something like that. That's pretty cool. I like it. So what I need to do now is to make a strip that will cover this and join these together. I'll be putting rivet holes in each of these. It's pretty much an equal spacing. I just checked, 1.5 inches. Sorry, I was started out this series. I was going to go metric, and I just can't do it. I'm just too much stuck in the imperial system. Sorry about that. Anyway, 1.5 inches spacing is what I'm going to be doing on this. But I need to now make a strip of bronze with a rolled edge coming down. Let me show you. I got a little sample here. So I did just a little sample just to show and to test what my amount I needed to create this wire rolled edge. So what it's going to be is a strip that comes down, the roll coming out here, and that will cover up any anomalies there and create a nice decorative bead, much like I did down here, where I did a roll here where the crest can tuck into. So we've got a little bit of cohesiveness as far as design there. And then this will be come across, same thing on the other side, and riveted through, making this all into one solid piece. Sounds easy enough, but with all the angles and the depth and everything, this could be a bit of a tricky, snaggy little process, but let's begin. So I measured, I've got about 1 1/8 inches here, coming up to about 2 3/8 or 2.5. at my fattest point here, and then it actually tapers back into the scroll. So started doing a little bit of templating just to kind of replicate that, see how that looks. This will straighten everything out. So came up with this. From that, I was able to play with my length. I need to get what rolls around there. Anyway, this one, then translate it to this one. And there we go. And I also realized that I probably need to add about an 1/8 inch on either end there because of the thickness of the material, and it always needs a little bit more than you think. So that is my sheet there. I did a test piece here, trying to figure out what I need to add to the side for the rolls. So came up with 3/4 of an inch extra to create that roll. And in doing so, I then templated this out, and this should be the strip that we need. Roll a wire bead on either side of that, and then very easily just wrap it around here. I think I'll do a little bit of doming in the center of there, create a nice pleasant shape. Let's start that. All right, so rough pounded into shape there. You can see the cross section that I'm kind of going for, which I think is quite pleasing. Now this will then, starting from there, drop down and curl around. Yeah, something like that, with a rolled edge dropping down here to hide all the multitude of sins there. And I think it will look quite fetching. So, why don't we shut off the camera now, and I need a little bit, Thack needs some alone time with this. This is gonna be a couple hours of gentle wrestling to make this all fit into place. Then join me again in a few moments. See ya. All right, so I'm about 15 hours into this thing now, and I've got it rough together, and it's starting to take shape, and I'm enjoying it. It's a unusual shape, challenging, a little bit awkward to build. The problem I ran into is I realized I ended up making this thing a little wider than I first expected to, and the thing is getting heavy. So what I did was take my steel bar here that goes in, and I ground out and drilled out as much material as I could. So I was at, before that, about 5 pounds with this Crest, which is obscenely heavy. So I'm trying to bring it down. Ideally 2 pounds would be better, so about 1 kilogram, somewhere around there. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to take it down that much, but I think what I'm going to be able to do is, when I do the polishing on this, is grind this extra, remove extra material. Also, my little zipper pattern here, I think I can remove quite a bit of that material, because basically we're doubling up on that layer in there. So I think I'll do that, try to bring the weight on this thing down. If I can bring it down under 3 pounds, I think I'd be a little happier as far as the weight on the helmet. This helmet is going to be heavy to begin with, and I just think it's going to be a little bit unwieldy if this thing is too big. Realizing that the Gladiator helmets, and this style of helmets particularly, was a heavy and cumbersome type of helmet, I'm not really sure what the thought process behind that was. But anyway, we can address that further. So I'm going to do some polishing now, and then assembly is going to be a bit of a bitch because it's hard to get in there. I'm going to have to get some rivets in there and close this whole thing up. So let's see how that goes. This is a complicated little structure. Spent some hours polishing, and I've started the assembly. I did the easy part in where I have a easy access to be able to rivet the one piece to the other. Now what I have to do is add this piece where all of a sudden access is going to become a problem. So to surmount that, I have built this little tool here where I can reach in there, get my rivet in. Essentially I've drilled a 3/8 hole in there, and my rivet can actually sit in. Voila, and I'll be able to get it on there and do that. First of all though, this my curl here is it really a tight access to try to get in. So what I've got here, I don't know, Eric, if you can get a close-up on this, I've taken an 1/8 inch rivet, like that, and I don't know if you can see that, if you've got enough close up there. I've taken onto the bandsaw and I put a slit in this thing, so this is a split rivet now. Because I have no access to get in there after I put this in, what I'm going to do is slide this in and then try to get in with a screwdriver and just pry this open to get some sort of gripping there. The idea, I don't want this part to collapse in there. I was able to put a rivet in this side to hold this in. Don't know if that's all making sense. It does to me. So anyway, let's begin. And it's done. So I've just antiqued this, and what I find interesting is that when you leave the patina on for a little bit, it just kind of mellows into this beautiful shade here. When I first do it, it has this look, which I don't really like as much, but this, given a week or two, this will all look the same. Anyway, I'm off topic there. This was a challenging little project, a lot of pieces and assembly, and I was trying to do it in a historically plausible way. I'm not doing it historically accurate by any stretch, and before you historical Nazis jump all over me about this not being historically 100% correct, I understand that, but I am exploring historically plausible techniques in order to create this, and I think I'm accomplishing that. I'm having a lot of fun with it. This is a very interesting piece. So quite happy with what I've got for the Crest. This started out quite heavy, and I was able to bring the weight down to about 3 pounds from 4.5. So lighten it up a bit. The whole thing is still a little bit heavier than I would like. I may remove some extra material out of here yet. But anyhow, by the way, backdrop here, I just thought I showed the door here. Eric, do you want to pan out on this? As something in a different backdrop, just kind of show you what happens on my day job. I'm not always making cool armor or sculpture for YouTube. Sometimes we're making stuff for the clients now. So this is a pretty cool door that we're just finishing off. I've got to go up north and install it in a cottage next week. So pretty excited about that. But anyway, let's get back to this. So we've done now 3 videos in this series where we've hot dished the bowl. We've then done a rapus to create this little lion head on here, and now we've got the crest. What comes next is the brim, those pieces, and then the face guard yet. So a little ways to go. Please stick around. Please leave comments. I'd love to hear what your feedback is on this helmet. Do you like it? Do you think I went a little bit over the top with my crest here? I want to hear what you got to say. So, see you next time. Stick around. See ya!